What's going on, everyone? My name is Nicholas Merton here at Data and today is November 23rd of 2019. Well, folks, I hope you are having a fantastic day wherever you are. And in today's video, we have the fortunate privilege of sitting down with one of the larger names in cryptocurrencies, and it is no other than Charlie Lee, the founder of Litecoin. Now, in this video, we're going to be catching up on a lot of things, seeing as we haven't talked since back in August of 2018. It's been a year and a half. So we obviously are going to talk about what's been going on with Litecoin, talking about some of the privacy improvements that they're bringing to the cryptocurrency, and also talk about some of the longer term outlooks for cryptocurrencies. I thought it'd be very important to talk to Charlie about that, as it's been a relatively bearish market. Luckily, today's been a little bit of green. But that all being said, guys, we're going to jump right into the interview right after a quick sponsor. And just to let you all know, the video is sponsored by eToro. Now, for those of you who may not know, eToro is a social trading platform that allows you to trade alongside other cryptocurrency traders. And the nice thing is they recently launched their copy trader feature, so you can follow a variety of different traders across the crypto market, including individuals like myself, where you can view our stats real time. You can see our performance, you can see our current portfolio holdings, as well as a chart showcasing what the value of the portfolio would be from the time of inception. And if you guys are interested, on general profiles, you'll see a blue copy button. I'm just viewing my profile at the moment, where you can simply not only copy their current portfolio holdings, but you'll copy them real time at the point of trade and at the same price. So you guys should definitely check out eToro if you're interested. Link will be down below in the description. Alrighty, everyone, and in today's interview, I'm sitting down with an individual who I had the fortunate privilege of getting to talk to back in 2018 and seeing recently at the Litecoin Summit. It is Charlie Lee, who is the founder of Litecoin, one of the most popular and well-known cryptocurrencies in the entire ecosystem. Charlie, thank you for making the time, man. It's always a pleasure to sit down with you, especially with how busy we all keep in this space. So it's a pleasure, man. Thanks for coming on the channel.
Awesome. One of the most popular and also one of the most hated person in crypto.
Well, honestly, man, that's the thing. If you're not vindicated for something in crypto, like, you haven't tried to do anything in the space. I want to say, Charlie, I think you've obviously been in the space for a long time. We had a great talk back in 2018, and obviously you've continued to contribute to the space and grow yourself. I think in the crypto ecosystem over the last year or two, while we've kind of been in a bear market, things have been quite silent compared to where they were back in 2016 and 2017. So what are the things that have been on your mind as of recent? What are some of the changes to Litecoin that you guys are implementing? I definitely want to just give you some time to maybe give people an update as to what you're up to.
Yeah, so I guess in the past year or two, I've been thinking a lot about fungibility and how to make Litecoin more fungible. So what I mean by that is when you're spending Litecoin, you don't have to worry about which Litecoin you're spending or which output you're spending. Because right now, when you're spending Litecoin, it actually matters which one you're spending, because it actually shows history and also the amount of Litecoins you potentially have. So, for example, if you get paid by your employee in Litecoin and you got let's say $10,000 in Litecoin, if you send that to if you use that to buy a coffee, then the recipient will actually see that you have $10,000. So for financial privacy, it's actually important to have some fungibility where it doesn't matter which coin you send. No one actually knows where it came from and how much money you have.
Absolutely, man. I don't think people understand that this is probably one of the bigger issues, alongside maybe private, or proper private key management, a lot of the things that kind of keep people from using cryptocurrencies. If we can't live in a world where there's some ability for me to block my balance or block a track record of my transactions from other people, it's not a matter of me trying to hide something. It's a matter of me having a decent level of privacy over my finances. And I think for all of us as well. So 100%. In that case for Litecoin, I know you guys have been obviously doing some work with Mimblewimble, and I want to give you some time to obviously just kind of talk about the basic concepts, because we've mentioned it on the channel here, but there's also been some recent news as well, which we can dive into it a little bit as well in relation to Mimblewimble. But you want to kind of go ahead and just kind of give the spiel on how you guys have been working with Mimblewimble?
Yeah, so initially what we're looking at is a technology called Computational Transactions. And what that means specifically is that it's just hiding the amount that you're sending. Right. So the amount is what's called blinded, so it's hidden. So if I send coins to you on the blockchain, no one else other than you and I can see how many coins I sent to you. So this is very good for financial privacy. One of the problems with computational transactions is that it causes the transaction size to be from 3 times to 20 times the size. So it makes it really hard for the coin to scale. So the next technology we looked at is Mimblewimble, which actually includes confidential transactions. But Mimblewimble does scaling much better because it's a little bit technical, but it's able to kind of drop and delete information that's no longer needed for the blockchain.
Mhm.
So we decided to research in Mimblewimble, and actually, in the end, we decided to implement Mimblewimble with something called an extension block, which is adding a second or extension blocks to the normal blockchain. Where on the extension block side, it's Mimblewimble, and then on the regular blockchain side, it's still regular Litecoin transactions.
Okay, so in this case, obviously you guys are taking the ability in this sense to almost kind of prune through using Mimblewimble to remove unnecessary information on the chain. And the way that you're integrating in this case is it's not going to be a standard for every transaction. You could still do standard public chain transactions, if I'm getting that correct.
Correct. You can. So if like let's say Exchange doesn't want to support the Mimblewimble side, they can just support the standard canonical blockchain, and they don't even have to update their software because it's going to be a soft fork. So yeah, but if you want to support both sides, what happens is the users can decide to move their coins to the Mimblewimble side, to the extension blocks, and once they're there, then all the transactions will be using Mimblewimble, and will be confidential and also would scale.
Oh, nice. So in this case, as you were mentioning, I think that's really probably one of the big kind of pressure points with having privacy over crypto is that some exchanges or centralized entities that are regulated will probably not want to go into that front of, using a privacy coin. So just for example, like SegWit, how it was optional and how we've seen exchanges adopt over time, it's going to be exactly the same way for Litecoin in this case.
Yeah, it will be very similar. We've talked to a few of the major exchanges, and they seem okay. They think the regulators are okay with this plan of adding Mimblewimble as an extension block, and they think they're just going to support the main canonical chain, and everything will be status quo.
Awesome stuff, Charlie. This is really exciting. I like that idea of making it optional because I was actually just talking to a friend of mine recently about this problem that privacy coins over the next few years. I don't think we haven't seen it yet. As much as I'm a big fan of privacy cryptocurrencies like Monero, I think that we're going to see a really big laydown on a lot of the privacy coins on exchanges, and it's going to strip a lot of the liquidity, I think, away from solely private cryptocurrency. So there has to be this optional functionality, and I really like how you guys are approaching that. Sorry, do you want to make a point on that?
Yeah, so I think I think it's a compromise, obviously. So if you do like all private, for example, like coins like Monero, then you can pretty much keep everything a secret, or a much better job than something that's opt-in, for example, like Zcash or what we're planning with Litecoin. But I think what I guess my goal is more about financial privacy and not about like hiding your tracks because you're doing like something bad or something nefarious, right? So the first major step is confidential transaction, which is just hiding the amount. I think that's a huge leap in privacy already, where like if I'm sending payments, I don't have to worry about the recipient knowing how much I have or figuring out how much I have. Because if you're for normal users, like the actual tracking of history is not that important, right? Because if you're not doing anything nefarious, like you're sending coins from Coinbase to other exchanges, to other wallets, to merchants, like I don't care if you're tracking where I got the coins from, but I care more about how much it is, right? So I think this is already a huge step in privacy improvement.
Absolutely. I guess it's a sense of not full anonymity in this case, but being able to have privacy over how much you not only own, but how much you're sending as well to a specific entity. That's very true. I think it's, again, those are kind of stepping stones that we still haven't really focused on. And I do want to say that I appreciate that, Charlie, because the issue that I find in the crypto space sometimes, and I guess you've probably seen it even as long as I have, is that I think we kind of go for the moon in the case of trying to achieve broad things for cryptocurrencies, when in reality, a lot of the base bare bone kind of features that would be standard in any form of money or payment networks still isn't built into cryptocurrencies just yet. And I think that's preventing a lot of mainstream adoption, both for retail users and institutions.
Yeah, and I think privacy or fungibility and privacy is always going to be a kind of a constant thing, trying to figure out what's a good compromise, right? So it'll be a constant battle with people wanting to be more private, and regulars wanting to see what's going on.
Yeah, and then it's going to be a constant battle and stuff. It'll be interesting to see how it turns out in 2020, 2021. And, one thing that I wanted to talk about as we're on this topic of fungibility and privacy, Charlie, is obviously the recent news that happened with Mimblewimble. Now, I understand, I've been a big fan of Mimblewimble for some time, but there was a recent breach that basically exposed, if I remember correctly, it's like that for 96% of all Mimblewimble transactions, this bug within the way that it operates right now makes it so those transactions have a sense of traceability or vulnerability to the privacy or anonymity of those transactions. And I know you guys have been making a big push to put Mimblewimble on Litecoin. I've been excited for that, especially with the user base and community that I saw at the Litecoin Summit that's out there for Litecoin. So just want to maybe, give you some time, what do you make of this news, and do you think it's something that's going to affect the Mimblewimble integration on Litecoin long term?
Yeah, well, the news is sensationalized. Basically, well, it's saying like the news is saying the Mimblewimble privacy is broken,
Right.
but in reality, it is working kind of as intended. Like since Mimblewimble was first like thought up, everyone has known that if you run a full node and you connect to everyone, then you see all the transactions that happen in real time. And when you see that, you obviously know which output is sending to which other output, so you can actually link inputs and outputs. So that's not really a that's not really a problem, right, per se. It's kind of the way it's designed. So the recent news doesn't really actually expose anything new that's not already known. But I think why people are surprised is that a lot of kind of Mimblewimble supporters who actually or Grin supporters who want the price of their coins to go up has been pushing this idea that Mimblewimble is complete privacy, right? It's a privacy coin. It's privacy coin that scales. So this kind of misinformation has been out there for a while, and people are not aware of actually the limitations of Mimblewimble, which is it's good for scaling, but for privacy, there's a lot more work that needs to be done. And things like CoinJoin works a lot better on Mimblewimble than it does on Bitcoin and Litecoin, because of the way Mimblewimble works. So just by adding CoinJoin, you achieve actually quite a bit of good privacy in terms of breaking linkability between inputs and outputs.
Interesting. So in this case, you kind of see it more of a symptom of tribalism in the cryptocurrency space that I think we're all too familiar with at this point. That's
Sure.
using kind of Mimblewimble in this, or excuse me, I would say more of Mimblewimble's integration on other cryptos in this case, like Rin, for example, as being the ultimate kind of cure to privacy. But I've been hearing for a lot of people for some time, if you still want to use privacy cryptocurrencies, Monero and these other places we mentioned, or Zcash, are still some of the better plays right now. But you guys are working towards hopefully building a better competitor with Litecoin and really taking it as one of the mainstream cryptocurrencies with at least some degree of anonymity or privacy.
Yeah, I mean, I think for sure I'm a big fan of Monero. I think Monero currently gives you the best privacy. But Monero has issues also because it really doesn't scale that well, because the transaction output set grows indefinitely, right? Because you can't prune any of them because you don't know if any of them is actually spent because of the privacy part of it. So Mimblewimble actually scales a lot better than Monero, and that's why we decided to go that direction. But yeah, it's not as good in terms of privacy, but it's a huge step towards privacy for Litecoin.
Awesome. So in that case, just to get it correct, for Litecoin, you guys are looking to still integrate Mimblewimble, and along with that as well, implement confidential transactions in conjunction to provide both of those layers of privacy.
Yeah, the plan is to do Mimblewimble as an extension block, soft fork upgrade. And currently, like talking to the community, everyone's really excited about it. We recently hired David Burkett, the lead developer of Grin++, to work on both Mimblewimble extension blocks on Litecoin, and also on continue working on his Grin++ implementation of the Grin client. So I think it's a good win-win for both Litecoin and Grin, and Mimblewimble in general.
Awesome, Charlie. I think it's exciting. I'm excited to see more privacy and not to mention, as well as you mentioned, scalability on chain for these transactions. But the other thing I'm really curious to get your take on, Charlie, I mean, you've been in the space for a long time. And whenever I get to talk to someone who's kind of been an OG in the space, who's been around for some time, we're stepping into, I think, another exciting set of years for cryptocurrencies going to 2020, 2021. There's been a lot of talk and technology that's been kind of brought up over the past few years in regards to those things like scaling and hopefully bringing crypto into a more mainstream audience. Do you feel that in the next year or two, we're going to get to a point where we really can onboard a whole new wave of users and see cryptocurrencies being used in day-to-day transactions? Or is it going to be more along the lines that cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Litecoin are more, digital hedges, they're investments for the long term? What's your take on it?
I think it's going to take some more time, right? Right now, Bitcoin, Litecoin is still hard to use. I think the user experience is really important. And for example, like Lightning, right? It's still really early stages. It's really hard to use. There's a lot of companies working on it, but it's going to take some time for it to make it really easy, right? It needs to be, in order for people to actually use it as payment, it needs to be as easy as, for example, like a credit card swipe. And right now, using Bitcoin and Litecoin and Lightning is kind of far from that.
Right.
But I think we'll get there. We'll get to a point where you're using cryptocurrency and it's just simple and you don't even have to think about what's happening in the background. Kind of like when you're swiping a credit card, you don't really know like which bank institution is being contacted, who's approving what. I think the same will happen with Bitcoin and Litecoin. But in the meantime, it's definitely a good hedge, right? A good hedge against the current financial system. It's good new asset class. So I think people will get into this first as a hedge, a new asset class, and then people will start using it. So initially, it's a good store of value, and then it's going to become a good means of exchange.
Yeah, that's one thing I always try to kind of propagate on the channel is the idea that, cryptocurrencies are going to be seen either as a speculative asset or as a hedge in this case. And as you mentioned, store of value, a lot of people usually look at crypto and they go, wait a minute, this isn't a store of value. This thing is going up, 50x and dropping 80% at the end of each cycle. But at the end of the day, the vast majority of days where you could have bought these cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Litecoin, you're still up on your money. So that's really one of the actual more desirable properties of store of value is that it grows over time. And as you mentioned as well, Charlie, I think this talk of Lightning Network, myself, for example, I'm no developer. I can't criticize to any degree the work that people put into Lightning, and I know a lot of good friends working on it. But at the same time, I think that people in this space are very eager to see things come about in a faster nature. And I've grown more open to some of the newer tech that's using layer 2 solutions to actually scale these networks in the long term.
Yeah, and even, people are very impatient about it, but from my point of view, like it's slowly but surely going to happen, right? Even if layer 2 does not succeed, Bitcoin, Litecoin is still like extremely good store of value, right? It works, right? For sure, maybe you can't buy coffee with it, but you can't buy coffee with gold, and gold's market cap is like $10 trillion, right? So even if Bitcoin's layer 2 isn't as successful as people hope it to be, it can still compete extremely well with gold. And even at that point, gold is still like 50 times the market cap of Bitcoin, right? So there's still that much growth given that it's just a store of value.
Right. No, I'm interested to see, even if it just, ends up at the end of the day becoming a store of value. That's still pretty exciting, I think, on the global stage. I'm really curious to get your take on this, Charlie, because I'll be fair, I don't know how much Litecoin has really played a role in the movement, but I'm curious what you think about, the DeFi movement at the moment. It's predominantly, I think we would agree, is probably been mostly on Ethereum right now, but this kind of movement of, utilizing smart contracts and decentralized applications to build much more finance centralized applications. But I'd like to get your take. Are you excited about anything coming out of the movement? Does it kind of excite you about the potential utility that we could start building on top of these crypto payment networks?
I don't follow DeFi that much. I'm not that excited about it. People are, because it's like, I guess it's a new hot term for people to be excited about. And from my point of view, smart contracts is kind of hard to get working correctly because there's always going to be bugs in the code. And if there's a bug in a smart contract and something happens, do you actually follow the rules? Like, for example, like the DAO hacked, right?
Hmm.
So the smart contract was written, and everyone put a lot of money into it, and it got hacked. But the hack was according to the code, right? So do you follow the smart contract code to the letter, or do you actually reverse the hack and go back to and undo it? Right? If you undo it, then what's the point of the smart contract in the first place? And if you don't undo it, then any bugs would be hugely critical to the system. So I'm not sure that smart contract actually will work in practice. And yeah, so I'm not too excited about DeFi because it just may not work in practice.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of applications to me that seem a little bit kind of far fetched. The ones that have really interested me are things that do stick to the kind of core kind of aspects of cryptocurrencies of being decentralized and trustless, and have actually been able to make good use of smart contracts. Whereas I think we both agree smart contracts sometimes aren't very smart.
Yeah,
Either,
yeah.
there's a few that I like. I like, for example, plays like Compound, where you can actually be able to lend out to decentralized markets. It's a very high paying market in the sense of what borrowers pay, which means there's a good amount of income earning opportunity for you to lend your capital. And what I like too is that even though there are still, with a lot of DeFi projects, there are still some centralized players like Maker's got a governance system.
Hmm.
At the end of the day, Compound still has some centralized private days feeds. There's a few aspects that still need to be worked out, but I think this is what really excites me, is actually being able to start bringing the services we expect from the traditional banking sector, and now making it where you can do this from your own crypto wallet, which really excites me. So have you guys kind of explored down that avenue for Litecoin, or is it more of just keeping it simple right now, making sure that Litecoin works as either a hedge in this case for your wealth, and also as a payment solution? I saw that you guys had the new Loaf wallet that you turned into the Lite wallet as well, as of
Hmm.
recent at the Litecoin Summit.
Yeah, we're focused on keeping it simple, keeping Litecoin as good store value and also good means of payments. And so definitely not really looking into DeFi or smart contracts. Yeah.
Awesome. No, it's understandable. Again, I think honestly, as I mentioned earlier, sometimes you have to keep it as simple as possible and really kind of focus on those core fundamentals that I think are important to check off before we get too ambitious about what these decentralized networks can do. And that's obviously scalability, privacy, fungibility. Those kind of two go in tandem. So, Charlie, I mean, this is pretty exciting, man. I'm excited to hear how Litecoin is continuing to expand. I'm excited to see that you guys are focused on those very core principles that are going to actually make crypto usable. I've been wondering about what kind of solutions are actually going to be able to work on scale to make it where we can have some sense of privacy on transactions. Is there any kind of major things, I guess, that we didn't really get to cover? Is there anything that's been on your mind that you maybe want to share with people, or think that's important to know about?
Not much more. I mean, we're working hard on doing the Mimblewimble extension blogs, and we'll keep people updated. I mean, it'll take some time for us to implement it, and once it's implemented, it will also take some time for the kind of network to kind of agree to the soft fork and have it forked into the Litecoin protocol. But
Yeah.
I'm excited about it. Excited about how people will actually start using the extension blocks, Mimblewimble, and excited about how this actually will help fungibility on Litecoin.
Okay, I've got to ask. I know it's probably a pushy question. Do you guys have a date or kind of expectation for when you're looking to get it through, or is it's ready when it's ready?
Um, it's hard to say, obviously. So what I'm targeting is I've talked to David about this, and the target is to try to do the finished implementation like in 6 months, potentially a
Okay.
year. So it's going to take some time. We want to do it carefully. We don't want to rush it because it's definitely it's going to be a risky upgrade, right? If we want to make
Hmm.
sure that everything is working properly, that we test it well in code and also with a test network. So everything has to be done slowly, but we just make sure everything works properly before we actually release it.
Absolutely, man. It's good to push code out, that's been audited, that's been well, I guess, kind of reviewed by an open source community before you push anything out. And even if it's a soft fork in this case, right, if people are going to be using it, you got to make sure that it's deployed properly. But,
Yeah, and Litecoin is $3-4 billion network, right?
right.
It's no longer a tiny network, so we still need to be pretty careful. But unlike Bitcoin, we're still pretty small, so we can take a little bit more risks. So that's why we're doing something like Mimblewimble, where Bitcoin, at this point in time, it's more conservative and not willing to take this kind of risk.
Awesome, man. I'm excited to see it. I think again, as you guys were with SegWit, you're hopefully in the case of Litecoin going to be a pioneer in pushing some of these technologies to mainnet and actually testing out these kind of. I like this kind of idea of being able to run side blocks in this case, where you could have something much more private, or maybe even something that might be more scalable and cheap. In this case, I'm really excited to see this kind of concept of different types of transactions or blocks within a chain. So, Charlie, it's exciting to hear what you guys are doing. If you guys want to keep up with Charlie and what the Litecoin team and foundation are working on, you guys can go follow him over on Twitter. I know that Charlie has been extremely active. That being said, everyone, that's going to be it for the interview for today. Charlie, I want to say I appreciate it, man. It's awesome to be able to sit down with you. I know you're a busy man, so thanks for making the time, man. It's always a pleasure.
Sure, thanks for having me.